there is always a resistance from governments to invest in something which is untested. So how do you generate the evidence which will convince the government that this is something worth investing in, which is suited for their context and which is not only affordable but is cost effective? So there are many aspects to being able to scale innovations. And from my own experience in India, when I worked as the head of the Indian Council of Medical Research, I came across many such instances where innovators would come and say, here we have the best solution, but nobody wants to take it. And there is that gap which needs to be bridged. And I felt that a research agency could do part of that work of actually doing some of the implementation research, generating the data, but also doing, health technology assessment, prioritization, etc. So there are many things which in a country, particularly a country with limited resources for health, will need to do to create that ecosystem where innovations are not only encouraged, but also then end up having an impact. Because otherwise, entrepreneurs and innovators lose their enthusiasm if they find that they put in a lot of effort to develop something which then doesn't go forward. So this is where I think, especially now that we are beyond looking at just drugs and vaccines that we've been traditionally used to looking at, but really innovative new methods of reaching people, telemedicine, digital tools, how effective are they? Do we need more randomized trials to look at the safety and efficacy of switching, say, from a person to person healthcare delivery to a telemedicine or even a group telemedicine kind of a treatment strategy? So I must say that the pandemic has given us many opportunities to fast track some of these ideas and also to test them in some settings, uh, and then to improve upon them. And definitely all of us are now using digital much more than we did in the past, and it's opened up lots of possibilities to do things in a way that we would not have normally thought about. So we need to build on some of those learnings. We also have a very interesting program on social innovation and health initiative that's run by TDR, along with the Bertha Center for Social Innovation at UCT, South Africa, the SCOL Center for Innovation at Oxford University, and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. The SIHI, as it's called, Social Innovations in Health Initiative, is an informal network of individuals and institutions that share a common goal to advance social innovation in healthcare delivery in LMICs to accelerate progress towards universal health coverage. And it does this through supporting research to provide evidence, enhancing local capacity and advocacy to spread the word. Most of the time, social innovations are community led and they're inclusive usually, they're affordable solutions. I think we need to really support many more of those. An example is a learning treatment kit in Malawi, where teachers are trained to diagnose and treat malaria in children. So community-led social innovations, again, we've seen during the pandemic how they can be really important. And in many cases, we've seen countries that have been successful in containing the pandemic have used these community-led initiatives and at least have involved and engaged communities in finding the solutions. So this is obviously an area that's very, very interesting to work in. It's also quite challenging. There are a large number of interested partners, funders, and stakeholders. So it's great that you all have this today and maybe come up with some ideas also for us to see where WHO could play a role in this. As I said, very large and vibrant ecosystem, but where we could have some key inputs that would encourage not only innovation but scaling of innovation, keeping in mind the sustainable development goals that we want to get to in now less than 10 years. Thank you very much, Victor, and back to the organizers. And Krishna, thanks for the invitation.